Hello there. This podcast is for adults. No, that's just a lie. That's a lie. This podcast is for whoever the hell wants to listen to it.
For infants.
But apparently, some people get offended if people talk like regular people and say some curse words. Not offended. Maybe they just want to know. All right, so that's probably going to happen here because the point of this show is to talk like real people, not like a curated talk where we're trying to sell you something. You're getting our real feelings and thoughts about reef keeping and reef aquarium stuff as they occur to us, like you would if we were hanging out at a trade show and the show was over and we were getting drinks in the lobby or at somebody's room. So if you don't like, if that's not for you, run away, run now, run faster, run faster, get out of here. This is Reef Beef. Hello there, my name is Richard.
My name is Ben Johnson.
And this is the Reef Beef Podcast. And today we are going to talk to you about disaster planning because now is the time. It's always the time to plan for disaster. Right now. I wish Ben wishes it was 3 weeks ago, but it's also right now. We're also going to talk about end-of-line systems, and I'm going to read you a letter that I wrote in 2018, a love letter to the hobby, trade, and industry, and we will get Ben's reactions to this. This podcast is brought to you by
saltwateraquarium.com,
Champion Lighting and Supply,
and powered by PolypLab.
PolypLab powers us. This is Reef Beef. Thanks for watching. Ben and I are both exhausted. I'll tell you why I'm exhausted, because it's short and stupid. And then we'll get into why Ben is exhausted, and we'll jump right into it. I'm exhausted because I took a plane to Washington, D.C., and then to Norfolk, Virginia, and then drove 3 hours to kiteboard. 2 days after that, I drove from the Outer Banks all the way up to Washington, D.C., and I did a talk for the Washington, D.C. Club, WAMIS. It was a great talk, well attended, like 130 people, which is a lot for them. And there's some beefers there. Jim Graham was there. Paul Dimling was there. James Biggers was there. Todd Krunkel was there. Kristen was there, and some other beefers. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting your names.
And a bunch of politicians.
And a bunch of politicians. And then I drove back and kited for a few more days and then flew home. And so I'm just trashed. And then I'm getting ready for my next trip, which is coming up. But what can I tell you about this this talk? There seems to be something useful to say. Clubs, WAMIS is a real reef club like we used to have 6 years ago all over the place. It's a great, they do as many meetings as they feel like doing every year. They bring in speakers. They have a big raffle at every meeting. It's pretty great. They do the meetings in 2 different locations. Reef clubs are really, really cool. And I was kind of thinking maybe reef clubs are on their way out, which they seem to be anyway, but that's got nothing to do with their utility. But this was pretty great because I did my talk about managing algae and then took questions, right? And it was so awesome too, because the podium was like a stack of boxes because it was in some kids center or something like that. And usually people don't use a podium anymore. They just click with their slideshow clicker. And I don't like to do that. I like to be able to see what I'm looking at. So and I love the fact that it was on large boxes.
I saw you had like clear totes.
Clear. We just grabbed whatever totes were in the room. I didn't care. If you turn the picture, 60 degrees to the right, you see 130 people. So I did the talk. Talk was fine. And then talking to people after the talk, and there were several people who seemed very excited over me in the talk somehow giving them permission to not do the things that everybody else is telling them to do all the time. Exactly. Permission not to freak out about algae. Permission not to treat the algae. Permission not to chase nutrients. Permission not to buy all the biggest bells and whistles. Yeah. It was like, yeah, because I talk about water changes and how they're good and useful, and it was how everything is just an excuse to not do water changes because water changes have become bad for whatever reason. No. So I felt like there was at least 10 people in the audience who got their lids flipped in a good way by me talking, and I'm not telling them what to do, just saying, yeah, you're your choices are just fine. You don't need any of these bells and whistles that we have. You can totally keep tanks without them. It's not an issue. So if you don't want it, don't do it. And some of them were so happy with that idea. One of them was a woman, and I could just I talked to her a little bit afterwards, and it was pretty clear that she's been getting mansplained a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then there was one other thing I was going to say. Oh, I had some real mental health problems on my way to this trip. I tend to have free floating anxiety, and it wants to go to ground on something. And so I had this trip. I had the talk in the middle of the trip that I didn't know how I was going to get to. I got to talk to Africa. So I was having a hard time until about halfway through the trip. And the only reason I bring that up is because somebody at the meeting thanked me for talking about that stuff on the show and normalizing it. It's a thing. It's a thing that happens to everybody. You just got to deal with it however you're dealing with it. You know, I might get medication because the anxiety I had leaving the house to go do two things I really enjoy doing was really unpleasant for me.
When you think you're alone in the dark, you just look to your right, and Richard might be there right next to you, alone in the dark.
Yeah, we're all alone in the dark next to each other. So anyway, if you're a mental health person who's got some problems or some issues floating around there, seek help. We'll help you. On our Discord, we've got a brain health channel, and all that's for is for you talking about your brain health. No one's going to judge you.
We're licensed therapists.
We are totally licensed there. We will cure you of your depression. But it's a totally non-judgmental, and you'll usually get, do you want advice, or do you want to be heard?
Just to talk.
And it's very nice just having a place where other people go, yeah, that sucks. I hope it gets better soon. It helps. There, I'm off the soapbox about all that stuff. Ben, last time we recorded a show, a hurricane was about to hit your house.
Yeah, and I felt like I was acting real flippant about it.
You were like, no, whatever. We get hurricane eyes come through here. No problem. We're all set. Whatever, man. Bring the rain. I think. And like a band was hitting you as we were recording. And then as it turns out, you weren't really just Lieutenant Dan screaming at the hurricane. It was not
Gilligan. I turned into Gilligan. A 3-hour tour.
A 30-hour tour.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened? And then tell us about tanks and stuff and how that worked.
Okay, so yeah, I'm thinking about the whole thing of it. Where do you start? Not to get too much into politics and energy and stuff like that, but one of our main overarching like energy companies is called Centerpoint, and they're a private company. And years ago, Houston thought it was good to kick out the the government made one and bring in this private one. They said it would be better for everybody, but it turns out Centerpoint, they've spent less on cutting down the vegetation around power lines and with the infrastructure, and they've just been sending money to like the board members. And there's a real problem with this energy company. Well, so it's the way this.
So basically, Texas privatized its electricity distribution. And we all know when you privatize things, it gets more effective and less expensive. Right. I mean, that's what we're told, but it doesn't seem to happen.
It's the opposite.
So what happened?
So it's also the way the hurricane ended up hitting us. They were showing a lot of the tracks because Houston gets hit by hurricanes, not infrequently. But and we've been hit by big ones before, but they were showing the tracks of them, and a lot of them hit us straight on. There was one called Harvey that went across our coastline that did some real damage. But the way this hurricane hit us and why everything was so bad is it twisted around us to go up north, and it hit us with the worst place of a hurricane is the east wall, is the east side of the wall. It's called the dirty side of a hurricane, and that wrapped around us the whole way as it went up north. So between a energy company that was not doing what it was supposed to be doing and a hurricane that hit us weird, we're the 4th largest city in the United States, and there's still people with power out. It paralyzed Houston.
It's like a week.
Yeah.
More than a week.
People, yeah, it's going on 10, 11, 12 days for some people.
Jeez Louise.
And it was all this stuff like they called it a nested power outage because they normally power outage we would experience here, they would get our whole section on, but they'd bring some, and it was real spotty, and this was all over Houston, and it had to do with some fuses that it seems like they would have already had on hand, but again, mismanagement of this company. And so they'd get a neighborhood on, but then there'd be just pockets that still weren't on yet, and they call it nested. And man, that, and really the hopefully they don't drop it, but the politicians in this area and the state too are pissed, and they're taking it at them, and hopefully that gets all figured out. But I've lived in Houston since 2000, and so I've experienced running a maintenance company while experiencing power outages. And for me personally, here's what's crazy. I ran around putting out a lot of quote unquote fires, but this one didn't end up. I didn't, no tank got blown out.
No tank. But you had tanks that didn't have power and stuff. Because I know we were texting.
Now that's super weird. And those were a couple of them went without power for several days, and those were freshwaters with open tops. And
Yeah.
I could have sworn these tanks would have got bombed out, and they didn't. It's really, really weird. Now, if that happens to saltwater, in my experience, it doesn't make it past 6 hours, because the lack of circulation. Not, like the other freshwater ones that made it, one was like a big, like a 400-gallon African cichlid tank with an open top. So, they came to the top a little bit, and I was there just days after the hurricane, and I did a big old water change, but they finally got home, and they had a 45, get this, they had a $45,000 generator that had a malfunction right when the hurricane happened, and they were out of state.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things. Just one, you said the African cichlids came to the surface.
Yeah.
That's something they do when there's low oxygen, and
Mhm.
they basically they're pushing gas and water through their gills, so they get the oxygen that's in the air that's not in the water, because there's no gas exchange happening, because there's no water motion. So they'll come to the surface and I go,
But this is tricky too, because people would say, have a plan in place, and these people did in the form of a $45,000 generator.
yeah. When's the last time they tested it?
Yeah, there's an issue there with that.
Yeah, I think if you got a gas or a propane generator that you're relying on, you need to have it serviced once a year at least, right? You can service it yourself, but you gotta test fire that mofo. Otherwise, old gas gets old and things sit and
I've learned it, man. I've learned a lot because luckily too, I was more prepared this year than I'd ever been. I got a 12,000 or 12 kilowatt hour portable generator, and I had an electrician come out and put a transfer switch on my box. So I went 6 days without power, and I have 6 aquariums in my house, and I ended up being fine. But I learned a lot about make generator maintenance and running around getting gasoline. But I want to go and say that I think as a business, I came out of this so unscathed because for whatever reason, up to like a year to 2 years ago, I just been having this conversation over and over again with my clients. Do you have a generator? Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Do you have a generator? No, you don't. Man, you got to get one. We're putting too much money in this thing. You got to get one.
yeah.
You could go as small as this Honda E2000 inverter, or get a portable generator, or get, a Kohler or Generac, get one of these ones that's linked to your house, but do something.
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger.
SaltwaterAquarium.com has been sponsoring the show since before it was a show. Ben and I used them a long time ago, and we still use them, and they're great. They've even got an app that you can use while you're making marks on your knees with your elbows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice way to saying it. The app's pretty good. And the thing that we really like about saltwateraquarium.com is that they have 3 distribution sites. So if you're in the US and you order something at 11, it's likely to be shipped to you by 1 o'clock that day and get to you really quick. Ben, you got a little bit. What else do you think about saltwateraquarium.com?
I like that they have a treasure trove of articles and helpful written items that you get. They're not just selling stuff; they'll help educate you as well. They have
Yeah.
all sorts of discounts for you know, the medical industry and military stuff, and also frequent buying programs and all that. Great
Yeah,
stuff.
so check them out, saltwateraquarium.com.
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger.
Your generator is a gas generator. Is it dual fuel?
It's dual fuel. I wish it was tri-fuel, because then I could link it to my house.
What's the third fuel?
So the dual fuel is gasoline and propane, and the tri-fuel means you can link it up to your natural
Oh,
gas thing.
natural gas is right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have a manual transfer switch, right? The power goes off. You have to go flip some things around so you don't blow up your whole house or kill
Yeah.
linemen,
I
right?
have to shut off the main, and then I have to, you know, get the big, it's a huge like electrical cord, almost want to call it, but it's like it's thick. And I had to put it onto there and put it onto the generator, shut off the mains first, and then get the generator on. Then I can click on the mains. And it ran my AC, but I couldn't get my AC below 81. It was just asking too much. So I learned, and here, if anyone watching, I learned something through this too. Now I need to go, it doesn't cost much, but I need to go put something on my AC unit. It's called a soft start. Because when my AC kicks on, whoo, ACs draw a lot of power to get it spinning. And it was like, sometimes it'd pop the AC breaker on my generator. And so when you put a soft start, it allows it to start up a little slower.
And that's different than if you have a heat pump. So when you get your generator, you got to make sure it does what you actually want it to do by doing, tests. I have a generator. It's new in box. And I should really start it up. It's dual fuel. But I'm going to electric now. So I think that's what you were going to get to.
Well, was a EcoFlow.
EcoFlow. Yeah. And EcoFlow is, I've got one right here. Oh, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
I believe it's the same one you got, which is the
River 2.
EcoFlow River 2 Max.
So I got the one bigger than that to bring to my client, and I saved their aquarium. That's a story in of itself.
Yeah, well, we're here. Tell us.
So, okay, so the hurricane happens. Actually, when the last time we recorded, it was later in the day on Sunday, and the
Yes.
hurricane really hit us early in the morning. So, you know, we knew all this, and I wake up with my kids. It was so jacked up that we, like most of Houston, was already closed, businesses and everything. We knew it was going to be a thing. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to work today. It was Monday. And the hurricane comes in. The gusts were maybe a little bit bigger than what we expected. There was one recorded somewhere in Houston of 120 miles an hour, which it was only a category 1. But mostly what we were seeing at my house was like gusts here and there of 70 miles an hour. And then I'm okay at my house. Nothing hit my house. A couple trees fell down. Part of my fence blew off. But like our surrounding area, just like trees on houses everywhere. Houses
Everywhere.
split in half. Telephone poles busted down. Just, it was total chaos. But what was weird is I looked on my phone, and of course, the first thing that happens is I look at all my Apex clients. Well, all the Apex symbols were red because there was no internet. And what I was worried about is one of my, I wouldn't say my most important client, but one of my, a client I have that's near and dear to my heart. And it's that 8 foot long by 1 foot tall by 1 foot wide tank. And she's in a very rich part of town. And I go there weekly, very important client. And I knew it was just going to get blasted. And if you remember, it's just coming back from getting blasted. And I was like, I can't do this. And that I have a standing understanding with this lady is like, come hell or high water, I'm going to be, she's about an hour away from me, but come hell or high water, I'm going to save her tank. And she was in Malaysia too. She was out of town.
No.
So no one was there to start their generator.
Got it.
And they don't have a permanent generator.
Which is the problem with a manual transfer switch.
Yep.
When I started looking into the stuff, and I was like, we could get a big generator. It's like, oh, well, we need an auto transfer switch. And the problem even with the auto transfer switch is it still takes 3 or 4 seconds for it to come up and take over. So it's a bunch of money. And I guess if you've got a big house and you can have a big propane tank on the house, it makes a lot of sense. But for in California, without a whole lot of land around the house, it doesn't make much sense. And it never made any sense to me with a manual transfer switch because you have to be there. Even if
Oh,
you're 2 hours away, you
man,
know.
we experienced this another thing I found out about some of my clients that have these like very expensive like Generacs sitting on a pad already tied into natural gas and on an auto transfer. That shit just doesn't run for days and nothing happens. Like it
Right.
consumes oil. And then, it's these things you don't think about. Our city got paralyzed for like a good week. And if you had an issue with your Generac or whatever, those dudes that run around and take care of those Generacs for you, when the city is paralyzed and shut down, they're probably not going to be there.
Yeah, they're busy. So this, we didn't say what this was on this show, but the EcoFlow is just one of the brands that we like. And the reason what it is it's battery. It's a awesome, it's what we always wanted universal power supplies for our computer systems to be.
Lithium iron phosphate.
It's lithium iron phosphate. It's got a bigger battery than those UPSs ever had. You can get different sizes that will run as long as you want, depending on your needs. You can stack them into each other so they charge each other, so you have more battery if you need it. And it's got plugs and it's got USBs, and you can charge it through solar if you need to, or you could charge
Well,
it
yeah, and
through
I
a
got the app
generator.
on my phone. Like I can see what hers is as long as she has internet access. That's a tricky part.
Yeah, and you can charge it through solar or through a generator, which is the important part to say there are multiple ways to charge these up.
When they quick charge too, it only
Yeah,
takes them an hour to 2 hours to charge it fully.
Yeah, so instead of running your generator all night, you get some of these or one of these or a big one of these, and you just make sure it's charged up, and then you're using less gas. You can have multiple ones of these around the house instead of using one big one, or you can do one big one. I'm looking at a whole house solution that has a smart panel, and you can add more batteries to it as things go on. But I wanted to buy one of these because I have a little cube tank over here that's not so easy for me to get power from my big battery over to here. And I also wanted to try one of these as well. And it looks pretty great. I have
Well,
another.
that's a little stopgap too.
Yeah.
It's like an intermediate phase between that and an actual generator.
Yeah, I know Wandell uses his to keep his going for, I think about 4 to 6 hours, if I'm remembering correctly. And that gives him enough time to get there and set up the bigger generator.
Yeah.
So that's a way to go for it. Or you can go with more batteries, bigger batteries, and have it ready to go all the time. So there's lots of options. It's going to change a lot in the next few years. So I'm kind of excited about it. There's one other. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What's cool too is so mine I got it's not the River 2, it's the one that has 4 grounded plugs across it. But I don't know if yours did too, but the cool thing is it comes with like a car charger insert.
Yeah.
So if you have you wouldn't even need a power inverter if you just have like that old school, you got the 12, what is it, a 12 volt
12 volt
in your vehicle. You could, worst case scenario, you live somewhere you have no generator, but you have one of these in the car charger. You could run it until it dies and then go take it out to your car, and you can charge the EcoFlow in your car only 1 to 2 hours, which you're going to sit in your car for 1 to 2 hours. But
you can also, if I remember correctly, that cable can be extended. So you could run it, pull your car up by the house and
yeah, and put the tailpipe right into your front door.
Right. That'll make the whole experience more fun. More fun or moot, depending.
Yeah, none of it will matter anymore.
So yeah, you could charge it like that, or you can, charge it like Ben was saying, straight into the cigarette adapter.
Here's what sort of stunk is because the hurricane was coming in and I knew this client's tank was gonna bomb. But and I got kids over here in a house, and I was like, I kept looking outside and I was like, completely irresponsible for me to drive an hour away right now. But there's no way about it. The tank was gonna die. But so I waited for it to go over and past me, and I was like, you know what? It feels sort of legit, and I'm sort of, maybe I could be accused of being a little bit of an adventure hound. but I was like, let's go do this. This might be
You
fun.
you mean not you mean that that your view of reality is stupid.
It's skewed. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm like, wait, dangerous stuff? Okay, let's go do that.
let's
But
go. There's
yeah,
no real, yeah. I'm gonna leave my family to looters and rioters and
yeah.
go save this tank that I like.
Well, I look, my phone was working, so I looked a little bit on my phone and I looked at the route and nothing, as far as the highway went, nothing was like red or blacked out. So I was like, okay, well, I can get to there. And so, and she had, when she went to Malaysia, she gave me the phone number for her nephew. So her nephew and I were communicating before this because he was like, oh, her tank is out. And he's like, I know she has a generator, but I'm not sure where it's at and everything. And she said that you had something you were going to, because this what sucked. I ordered it before this storm and it didn't get here in time for me to get it already onto her tank, the EcoFlow, to get it
Yeah,
on her
yeah.
tank. So I had it, but I was like, I got to go there and get it hooked onto this EcoFlow. So I drove there and man, off of the highway, there was parts where the city had turned into a lake or a river. And I, strangely enough, I was watching people literally drive into like standing water from the highway. And I even saw two vehicles. I saw the people driving into the water, and then when white smoke comes out of the hood, that means that you, I guess, crack the engine block because that's, because water doesn't compress. And so when the pistons do that and you get water in there, you crack the engine block and white smoke pours out. And I watched two people do that. And I could only think they were trying to make an insurance claim. I don't know what they were doing.
They weren't thinking.
But people seem to, like, I'm not saying that I don't, but like sometimes when it's time to panic, some people's brains like quit working.
Yeah, a lot of people's brains quit working. Yeah, that's why I and Jim Graham keeps, we keep saying, now is the time. Now is the time when your brain is not freaking out, because when
Yeah.
your brain is freaking out in the middle of a disaster, then your brain's freaking out even harder.
Yeah.
So
So
have a
man,
plan, get a plan now,
it,
right now.
it was crazy. I had when I finally got off the highway, I was having to use my phone to navigate because I got off, and then the route I normally take to her tank, the street goes down and it always floods. It was 15 feet deep on this road, and it was blocked off by police. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I went around and then I went through a neighborhood and someone had a like 100-foot oak tree fall and it was all the way across the road. So I was like, okay, not there. So I had to go, but I was using my phone and I finally got to her house. And it's crazy. She had an oak tree, again, another 100-foot oak tree. It's weird. It didn't fall, but the ground got soaked and it slowly fell and laid on her house.
Oh, geez.
And but it's crazy since then. Man, this has got to be, I think she said it was $12,000. They had to hire a crane to go on the street in front of their house, crane over the top of her house, pick up this 100-foot tall oak tree and carry it over the top of her house and set it into the street and chainsaw it apart. Cops had to block the street off while they did this. And it's like insanity.
Wow. And the tank was fine. You got over there, you put
Well,
the EcoFlow on it, and
here's
there you
what
go.
sucks. I got there. I think it had been out 3 to 4 hours. The corals were totally fine, but half of her fish were dead, and then the other ones were just starving. She had a tomini tang laying down that was huffing and puffing.
Starving for oxygen, not
Yeah,
starving for food.
I'm happy to report the tomini tang is alive. He made it.
Wait.
Because the first, she has two MP10s, two Ecotech MP10s. So the first thing I did was just pull those MP10s off and plug it onto here. Now I brought it to her house with a charge. And she had and then you can read out. It's cool with the EcoFlow. It tells you how much wattage you're drawing, and it estimates how much time you may have left on there.
Yeah.
And so it, with her two MP10s plugged in, it had 11 hours, and that totally gave her nephew plenty of time. It took him like 5 hours to get, but without it, the whole tank would have been dead without
Yeah.
the EcoFlow.
Yeah.
Now the plan is to incorporate it permanently. I'm gonna have the MP10s hooked into there, so I wouldn't have to drive there.
Yeah. I am also liking, I got a new battery operated air pump
Okay.
from Aquarium Co-op, And there's just one thing I'm not sure. What I would like it to do is come on when the power goes off. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that with this one. But I have several things that are running with air all the time. And you know, this is even plugged into an EcoFlow or my big battery. So if the power goes off, this keeps charging.
Yeah.
So I get even more time with air. The
Oh,
one
that'd
thing
be
I
cool.
don't know.
Plug it into an EcoFlow so it still goes, and then even when the EcoFlow dies, it still goes.
Yeah, we did. It's called nested batteries or nested charging. You know, this EcoFlow, it would even make sense to put this EcoFlow on my big battery, you know,
Yeah.
and then
It's like staged.
exactly.
Yeah.
The one thing that I don't think that this little air pump does is come on when there's an outage.
Well, that's a little weird. A lot of them do. A lot of them
But
do.
this one seems to be, you use it all the time, and then when the power goes out, it keeps using it. It does have a setting where it will be on for 15 seconds and off for 15 seconds. But again, it's not, you know, it's a $35 pump. So, you know, I don't know. I don't expect them to put in all the bells and whistles because they want it to be cheaper. But I'm thinking that all air pumps should be battery. They should have a battery in them. They should have an auto on if it senses a power outage. They should have an auto fallback to, you know, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off in a power outage. So you don't have to do anything. But
Switch it out.
the fact that it exists, and it's better than the Penplex ones, and it, you know, it doesn't have batteries in it. It's got its own battery built in. And you can plug it straight into the USB of the EcoFlow.
Oh yeah.
I think these are really great. I just wish that they would come on. You know, I would put them on my display as well, but they kind of have to be on all the time, as far as I understand with them so far.
Let me ask you this: if you have a air pump that uses USB, and you plug it into the EcoFlow's USB, like, is it using electricity different, or is it mainly just allowing you to use the other plugs for something else?
It's not changing the energy. So if you plug it in, it's 110 volts, right?
Yeah.
And then that little brick steps it down to whatever this thing runs
Okay.
on, which would I would imagine is 12 volt, but I'm making that up out of my butt. So if you plug it straight in, you're not getting a loss from stepping the electricity up or down.
Okay.
And there's also on the back of this, there are 12 volt outs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do all kinds of stuff if you think it through with the
And it has DC
EcoFlow.
outputs as well, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can do all kinds of stuff that's good. You just got to plan it. And like we were saying, there's a bunch of other players in the market. We know the EcoFlow because the EcoFlow has really good deals on refurbished units.
Yeah.
And trying to get your way in, you know, this thing cost me $250 rather than $500. So it's a way to get your hands on it and play with it and see what you want to do, if you like it or not. So,
Well, yeah, and let's say you have this scenario where you have a portable generator and you're at work and some freak storm hits your house. Like, it depends when you can get off work or what's going on. Can you get home and then set up that portable generator? Well, you
right.
might have lost your tank in that amount of time. But
So
so you
even
ought to think about the EcoFlow to.
Yeah, even if you have a portable generator and you never leave town and you're only an hour or two away, if you have an EcoFlow like this set up to keep your water moving and the water oxygenated till you can get there, that is a great way to go.
And it doesn't even cost much, so
And
there's no
it's
excuse.
yeah, and they're cheap and they're getting cheaper, and there's some solid state ones out now. So it'll be an interesting couple of years to see what they do. But have a plan and make your plan now. My plan has my router and one node of my mesh network on the battery. So if I lose power to the house, but there's still internet, which there often is because they have their own generators, right, to keep the internet going, then you have access to everything you need. So I recommend that as well in your disaster recovery planning. Make sure you have access to the house.
I have a client that felt foolish because when the dust settled and I got to them, they had a portable generator. and they thought that their internet was down. They just didn't plug their modem into anything, and they didn't have it clicked onto that. And I went, since I had experienced this, I went and showed them, and they're like, "Well, I feel dumb." They didn't think they had internet the whole time.
Yeah. So that, when you test it, the real way to test it is to go off and turn the mains off to your house and then walk around and see, is there anything that should be on that I want on?
Yeah.
I found a couple things when we replaced my panel a few weeks ago. So that's good. But yeah, you got to do a dry run once a year because things get unplugged, things aren't working well. You want to make sure the battery's working correctly, all that kind of stuff.
But the rest of the week, it was crazy. It was just like freshening up tanks, and I had some clients that went like 5 days with a portable generator, and they're having to run around and schlep gasoline like I was. And then, some people converted to propane. I had a guy went out and bought these massive like propane tanks, almost like what goes on your barbecue grill, but they were like as tall as me,
Yeah, yeah.
giant propane tanks. And he was the one where because he has 5 tanks in his house, and I kept telling him, hey, not to be an asshole, but if you don't go buy a generator soon, you're just not making any sense, man, because the second your power goes out and all these 5 tanks are gone. Well, he had to run and go borrow one from his boss the day of, and so he pulled it off in the nick of time. But I was like, man, but now he's talking to someone to get a auto transferred permanent generator. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I don't care what your politics are, what you think's going on. Like, storms are getting more violent, more frequent, and if you live in a coastal city like Houston or whatnot, or really anywhere, this violent weather, if you have an aquarium that you're putting a lot of money and time and effort into, and you don't have a plan for when the power's not there, you're being foolish. Like, I would almost tell you, if you plan to get a reef tank, you better plan to get a generator of some kind.
You need some power backup for peace of mind. I just to put California against Texas for a minute, because we had some problems a few years ago, and PG&E is not the best, but they're not private. But we had a huge heat wave here that was bad, and there were fires and heat waves, and the power outage were minimal. Whatever, I was reading an article that said, PG&E PG&E did some stuff and made it better, and we went through this last potential really problematic time, and we came through it really, really well. So that's good.
And see, for whatever you want to bitch about an energy company, you can ask anyone in Houston right now. CenterPoint absolutely dropped the ball. It was a shit show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, and the politicians were pressuring them, and, golf clap for them, but they're like, oh, but we got some of these other ones on in record time. And you're like, but what about this spotty bullshit? Like, however you're doing this, however you have this set up is wrong.
Yeah, you're just doing a shitty job trying to make money instead of provide the service.
Yep.
Government's there to provide the service. We should let them do what they're good at.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not good at it, but at least that's their focus.
Yeah.
Their focus isn't lining pockets. So, how long were you actually without power?
6 days.
Jesus Christ.
It gets, not to act like a baby, but it does affect you mentally, because I really this is the first year I had the transfer switch, and I got a brand new generator, and so is with that. But like for the first couple days, since power went out so bad, it shut power out to a lot of gas stations. So there
Right.
was far fewer gas stations, and then we were experiencing that thing where I'd have to go to work all day and then come back and go, my wife was doing it too, go sit in a gas line at night for like 2 hours just to fill a couple containers. Well, once they started getting stuff on and it opened up more gas stations, it got easier and easier. But just like I said, we couldn't get the temperature all the way down. So it's like we were sort of lazing around at night because it was so damn hot in the house.
Yeah.
And then it was so weird, like it stretched out long enough to where you start to feel like, is the power going to come back on at all? Like, how long is this going to last? When you go that many days. And then when it did, I felt like I almost had PTSD, because when we got the power back, and I was like, it's going to go back off. It never did, but you know, I just started and I'm like, why am I worrying about that? Just enjoy what's going on right now. And I was like, no, it's gonna go off. And it's just it
Yeah.
does weird things to your brain.
Because something, yeah, I can totally see that. Something that you're supposed to rely on and you've relied on your whole life and generally isn't a problem.
Oh my
And
God. And this occurred in Houston in July. 2 of the days that we were out were record-setting days where the feel like temperature was 105 and then the next day 106. And at least we had a generator. I feel so bad. There's a lot of elderly people. There was deaths.
oh
And
yeah.
they haven't tallied it yet, but there was something like at least 7 elderly deaths of, you know, people with no generators and it's 106 degrees outside and they just died.
But you know, I'm glad you spend your time driving around helping aquariums instead of elderly people.
I mean, there was those people out there with chainsaws and all
Ah,
that doing that sort of
ah,
thing, but I got to
you
keep my business alive.
you could have brought that EcoFlow river to a
Yeah.
homeless to an old person and saved their lives.
I would just go out in the middle of the street, old people, and wait for someone to come out and like, boom, I got you. I got
Yeah.
you, Mabel.
Yeah.
Just
That's
old
what
people are named Mabel.
that's why it makes more sense to put more money into the infrastructure and let the infrastructure do what it's supposed to do, you know, rather than what you had to deal with. You know, and I saw you had a post about, you know, why can't the gas stations have generators? It's like, oh, well, yeah, because gas stations don't make a shit ton of money and all their people got to go deal with their houses too. You know, why, if I worked at the gas station and the
Yeah.
power went out, I wouldn't be hanging out at the fucking gas station.
No, but there had been, since we are Houston and we're in the path of hurricanes and stuff like that, again, not trying to wade into politics, but because of some of the hurricanes we had in the past, our governor had made a provision where like certain gas stations got subsidized like big generators that were like on the like near the highway because they were, you know, in times of evacuation, like, hey, we chose your gas station to be one of these ones where we're helping you put this big ass generator there. But you know, but then it's the thing, like we had read the articles about that was procured. Well, what the fuck happened to it?
There was no generators that did that.
Not that
No,
I know, not that anyone
yeah,
was talking about of. They're like, where the fuck did that money go to?
yeah. It went to send fucking immigrants to other cities.
Yep.
Fuck Texas. Come on, get it together, Texas.
Man, I was born here. I can't just leave.
You sure can, but you shouldn't have to.
No, we can do better.
Luckily, or unluckily, this is a luxury hobby. No, that doesn't mean you have to be rich to do it, but it is definitely extra money. And a lot of people who have a luxury hobby have the means to be able to have their own backup system. So that's what you got to do.
Man, not to kick a dead dog, but as I'm looking at your background, your reef tank, and I'm just thinking this should drive it home to anyone listening or watching this. Like, you have put that much time into that tank, and just to be surprised when the power goes out for any given thing, and what do I do? Too fucking late.
Yeah.
Too fucking late.
Yeah. And right now I got 6 hours,
Yep.
about 8 hours. And I want to get another battery, but I'm too close to this trip to get another battery, feel comfortable about it. So I'm not. And then I got to look at this whole house thing. If we're not going to do this whole house thing this year, either I'm going to get another battery or I'm going to get a big EcoFlow,
Yeah.
and a box of cords for the rest of the house.
Man, God forbid you should experience like, you know, I sort of got the generator for like, you know, a power outage within a day, maybe a day or two. And my generator did great, but
Yeah.
when you're faced with 6 days no power, it's like that can get fucking dicey and you have
Yeah.
aquariums.
Yeah. And I've got the solar panels that can charge my thing. So that can extend me some.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want more. There's too much power needs in this, you know. Too many animals need it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm glad you're okay and you guys made it.
Yeah. And got business wise got out of it relatively unscathed. No tank bomb outs.
Right on. That's amazing. So I would guess you're going to recommend EcoFlows to everybody and you're going to have one or two that you're just going to buy and keep.
Yeah.
Powered up and ready to bring to somebody's house in an emergency.
Yeah.
And then you charge them fucking $500.
Yeah.
Because unlike the gas stations, you are allowed to gouge.
Yes, gouge away.
Gouge away, pixies. Gouge away.
Gouge away.
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger.
Champion lighting and supply. Champion lighting and supply. They will supply your champions and your lighting today.
And your supply.
Yeah, they'll supply your supply.
I actually saw Todd Krunkle, Champion Lighting and Supply,
No
recently. I
way.
had dinner with him and a bunch of other beepers, and it was really fun and very cool. And besides being very excited that they have so many products and that they reuse cardboard to pack their stuff, Todd wanted me to mention, wanted us to mention that they're going to be at Reef Stock in Chattanooga. They're going to have a booth there. So check them out. Reef Stock's pretty cool. Champion Lighting Supply is pretty cool. Chattanooga is pretty cool. Have you ever been to that aquarium?
I have not.
It's like a freshwater aquarium paradise. It is well worth going to for the freshwater. Are you going to be in Chattanooga?
I don't know.
Ben, is possible. I know I can't make it because I'll be out of the country. So please go to Champion Lighting and Supply at Reef Stock Chattanooga. Take a picture of yourself there and put it up in our Discord or on our Facebook.
And take a picture with Todd and say thanks, Reef Beep.
Absolutely. So check them out at Reef Stock and at the link down below.
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger.
What else is going on, Richard?
I wanted to go over a little bit about the end of line system.
Yeah.
The end of line system and using a Neptune dose to put water into that tank and take water out of that tank instead of having it overflow to overflow, because I can't for whatever reason, or if you can't. So I'm going to show you a quick video here.
Oh, yeah, video time.
So this is the it's an all-in-one cube system, and this is the back.
The back
And
chamber.
can you see this cursor on your screen or
Yeah.
not?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
So this first blue line here is the water from the rest of the system, right? That's
Okay.
from the tank behind me that goes into this tank. This other longer one with this filter on the bottom from Vivid Created Aquatics.
I was about to ask you. That is really cool.
That little filter is awesome because it allows the water through and not much else. So go check them out. They're available. They're really great. Antonio sent me some, and I've been using them for stuff like this.
And
it's
it looks
great.
like it fits on 1/4-inch RO tubing line.
It does. And it's made for smaller, but you can get it on.
Okay.
So I'm going to play this video, and you can see the water's going in, right?
Yep.
And you can see that intake has got no water. It's out of the water,
Yeah.
right? Why, Rich? Why would you do that?
Why, Rich? Why would you do that?
If you put this, if these two pumps, the in and out, are unbalanced for whatever reason, and it's really hard to balance pumps like that, and you have the intake all the way at the bottom, and the intake water away from this tank is going into that, and that's at the bottom, it's going to keep sucking till there's no more water. So I put it like an inch below the water line.
Okay.
And that way, if things are goofy and water out is going faster than water in, it just sucks air.
Okay.
And because it's a peristaltic pump, it
Doesn't
just
hurt
sucks air. It doesn't hurt anything. The other pump fills it back up until it can suck water out. And it's great. So I don't need a low level sensor. I don't need some automation to come on to stop in case there's this emergency. The last thing that I do for this is you can see this optical sensor here.
Yeah.
This is above where I think the water line is going to end up. And so if the water going out stops working, but the water going in continues to work, it'll hit that level sensor, and that level sensor will turn off the pump, and Bob's your uncle, and everything should work well. And I like a level sensor for that because it's not in the water getting dirty. It's just sitting there waiting to do its job by getting enough water on it. And so I'm now currently with the Quiet Drive dose doing 1,000 milliliters a day. And it just kind of looks like that. And that's what the tank looks like. And it's across the room from the rest of the system. So there you go. That's
Very cool.
That's what I think. And so what happens with the end of line system is I have that set up in it. except the water goes from the main system into that little system, into the end of line tank, and then it's pumped to drain instead of back into the rest of the system.
And you
And
could, like you've said before, you could use it as QT because that water's not going back.
Water's not going back. Anything that looks sickly gets thrown into the end of line
Dungeon.
system. That'll be what I use as the for the coral spawning, although it will be online for most of that because I want to do more water changes with filter. But after that, the end of line system will be the tank, the rack system in the back. And you know, if I get a new coral, I'll just put the new coral in there, get a new fish, put the new fish in there, and just watch it for a few days before it goes anywhere else. And that's what I think is the end of line system. I'm thrilled with the idea of automatic water changes. I think that helps with everything, including DOC. Every problem you have is going to be benefited by doing automatic water changes. And if you're doing automatic water changes, you know, might as well throw that water into an end of line system because that's essentially, it's almost a tank transfer system if you need to do it that way. You could totally do a tank transfer system in that system. Super easy because you've got the water going in there every day already. So
Yeah.
I think it's really useful. And it was that figuring out to put the one just below the water level, put the new water above the water level, and to put an optical sensor in case it gets too full someplace that makes sense.
I'm gonna have to get. Was that VCA that does that little inline filter?
Yeah, they make a 5-pack of those little filters, and they're great.
Because I would use that for the intake of my pump that feeds the calcium reactor.
Yeah. It's good for that too. And we've talked about a bunch of products. We're not sponsored by VCA. We just like that little product, right? We're not sponsored by Neptune, just like their products. I just use a lot of their products.
We could be one day.
No, probably never.
Probably never.
They're nice to me though, but you know, I think the way they're going now, they won't do they won't do it that way.
Plus, they don't like the word fuck.
Who does though, really?
I do.
Oh yeah, me too. And we're not sponsored by EcoFlow either. So yeah, that's a whole bunch of products that we don't talk about that we got no dog in the fight. We just think they're good. They help us.
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger.
Now it's time for PolypLab. PolypLab is here today.
PolypLab powers us. They sent me some new stuff, but I'm not allowed to know if we're allowed to talk about it. But this is the cool one that came. This is the new coral lens.
Oh, it's
I've been using their old coral lens, but the new one, hopefully you'll be able to see this. It's square.
Oh, weird.
Right?
I guess to accommodate more things.
Yeah, so all the phones are now square on the back, so this just pops over it, and it's pretty good.
Look at them staying ahead of the times.
Yeah, for Canadians, who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? So yeah, that's the product from PolypLab we're talking about this week. I like it a lot. I went to some place, I was doing a consult in LA, and I was taking pictures of their tank, and they went, "Why aren't you using this from PolypLab?" And I went, "Okay." And so I was somewhere else, and they shoved it on my phone for me.
Wow.
So check them out. Powered by PolypLab. Thanks, Phil.
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger.
Our good friend Salem over at Reef Builders did a what is it called? A Reef recap, where he went off on problems in the industry and stuff. And I love it. I think it's important that we have those discussions from time to time. And it made me excited. And it made me remember that in 2018, I wrote an article that went off on a bunch of stuff in the industry. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to read that article, and we'll stop along the way, and we'll let Ben jump in with his things that he has to say. And we'll see how it goes. If you like this kind of thing, if this works for you, this discussion of an article that I wrote before, let us know. If you hate it, keep it to yourself, because screw you. No, and let us know below. And also, while we're here, if you guys have any idea about what we should talk about, what you'd like us to talk about on the show, what concepts you'd like us to go over specifically or generally, let us know in the comments. Let us know at the Discord. Let us know somewhere. If you reach out to us, odds are we're going to talk about what you asked us to talk about, because we're interested in that too. And we need you to guide us with that, right? If you're a newer reefer, I would expect you would ask newer reefer questions, and we'll be able to answer those. We tend not to go there because we're not doing newer reefer things.
And
But,
but like if someone's like, you guys don't talk about American football enough.
Yeah, no, don't say that, because we won't. Do you even just the fact that we called it American football should let you know we have no idea what the hell is going on in sports ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an article I wrote called A Love Letter to the Hobby Trade and Industry. It was published in 2018 in Reef's magazine, and we'll put a couple links down below. And it's by me. And it goes like this. Honest conversation about contentious issues has always been a mainstay in my personal and professional life. I prided myself on hitting those conversations head on until about 2 years ago, 2016, when some people involved in the marine aquarium world tried to hurt me professionally and personally over something that had nothing to do with aquarium keeping. They tried to cancel me, Ben.
I remember it.
As a result, I pulled back from heads-on kinds of conversations. I'm not going to go into the details here because the details aren't important, though I did, in the process, watch a few bridges burn, which is something I normally avoid, but it's felt surprisingly good in this context.
Fuck them.
The entire context and experience made me keenly aware of the fact, though I pride myself on direct communication, I was vulnerable to potential repercussions of honesty. So I pulled back, all the while wondering, what would I say if I really wasn't worried about repercussions? What would I say if I was really free to say what I wanted to say and didn't care what anybody else thought? What would I write in the reef keeping world if I were dying and have nothing to lose? It took me a couple years to act on this because every time I wrote it, I felt bitter. And no message coded in bitterness can be heard very well, especially when there's already so much bitterness floating around. So a couple years passed, and I think I'm ready to attempt to communicate some of the messages that might be hard, but not from a place of anger or fear or bitterness, but for passion and love for the amazing hobby, trade, and the industry, which are 3 different things. And I've learned so much. This thing has given so much beauty and satisfaction to my life. So grab some popcorn. Here we go. And I'll say, I think there's a difference between being honest and spilling the tea.
Yeah.
I'm not, while I love to have the tea spilled,
It's egregious.
it's egregious. And I also want to unsilo the industry. And I will talk about that in here. I want everyone to be talking. And if I say X company, if I say Ben Johnson is an asshole, Ben is less likely to talk to me in the future. And that's the opposite I want.
No one's going to be surprised.
So let it be implied that Ben Johnson is an asshole. All right. Difficult message number 1. We are Legion. Your reefing community isn't the only reefing community.
Yeah.
It's natural to think the communities we frequent represent the entirety of reefing in the world, and that everybody thinks the way the people with whom we associate think. Conference attendees tend to think that everyone in the hobby trading industry knows what goes on at those conferences. People on forums tend to think that their forum contains all knowledge and attack new members with different ideas that don't conform to the local norm. The truth is there are hundreds, maybe thousands of reefing communities out there, each with all kinds of information and all kinds of experience, and that experience is not at all equal. Some of the advice advocated, for instance, on Facebook reef groups is decent, and some will make your skin crawl through its regressive incorrectness. We need to find better ways to cross-pollinate, to stop inbred information from taking hold, and to get that good information experience to the people that are looking for it. Some groups go further and actively prevent needed cross-pollination. Some blogs won't post information that appears on other blogs. They won't link to each other, which is getting better, but makes me insane.
Echo chamber.
Yeah. Some online forums to the echo chamber, to the detriment. I love that you're the hype man. What's going. This is great. It's to the detriment of everybody involved, right? Here's a great article, but it's on a competing fucking platform, so I can't share it with my viewers.
It's ridiculous.
Insanity. Some online forums won't allow links to other forums. Insanity. I get trying to maximize profit and presence, but doing that by stopping the flow of information seems to be the exact opposite of what these organizations say their missions are. If a competing site has information that will help your members stay in the hobby longer or increase animal health, how can we possibly cut off that information and feel good about it? Any comments on that? We'll stop at each section.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. That's just like all I can think in my head is just echo chamber, and it's like, if you find the forum or whatever that you're on is acting like an echo chamber, like branch out to something else. I mean, we link in on our Reef Beef Discord, like, man, I want you. There's other Discords. There's all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah.
Just educate yourself is all I'm saying. I don't have a monopoly on someone's education.
Yeah. And we've got real honest to God um ground up issues with some of the stuff that Reef to Reef does,
Mm-hmm.
both socially and professionally. Um, but I'll still link to their, if there's something good on their forum, I'll still link to it because the information is what we're really here about. They won't link to me. They won't let us put links,
Yeah.
but I'm going to link to them because I want to be better. I want to
Yeah.
help reef keepers. All right. Difficult message number 2. Let's get our act together. Organization is critical and crucial. Right now, there's no authority in the hobby, trade, or industry. There's no peer review process. So there's no way for people to know which authors to trust or YouTube people. This was 6 years ago when everyone was writing.
Yeah.
There are no accepted best practices. There is also no practical way to call out the bad players because all too often an attack on one is seen as an attack on all. Given the scrutiny our hobby, trade, and industry are getting from activist groups more than ever now, people need a place to go out and find out what the reality actually is. With that said, and there are some organizations that are attempting to fill the vacuum. This is now talks about MACNA and MASNA. MACNA and MASNA are now dead. So when I published this, there was a big motion to how do we make this happen? How do we make an organization? Let me finish reading this and then we'll jump back to that. For the trade and industry, there's some pet organizations that do their best to include saltwater aquatics, but it's generally difficult as saltwater aquatics is so specialized and niche compared to, say, keeping a dog and cat. One attempt to give our industry a voice, the Marine Aquarium Council, the MAC, offered education and certification for different kinds of facilities that dealt with marine animals. While it crashed for several reasons, mostly killed from within because people were like, regulation bad. Don't tell us what to do. We want to do whatever we want.
That's what Centerpoint said.
Yeah. Its relevance is proven by the fact that we still see MAX certified animals offered.
Yeah.
And MAX certified still resonates that people think that that's better. Then the need for this type of organization still persists. It can end legitimacy to the business of marine ornamentals, actively promote animal welfare, and most importantly, help preventively head off attacks on the industry. At least once a year, there are last-minute pleas to help the aquarium fishery in Hawaii deal with attacks by activists that are based on emotion in spite of really robust counter-indicative data, right? We even had one this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's been clear for years that these attacks are going to keep coming, that they're going to gain momentum and speed, but without the hobby industry and trade as a whole, we are failing to be proactive proactive on this front. With that said, PJAC, which is now PAN, the Pet Advocacy Network, is making some efforts, and but what we need is the industry to step up and present a united front that we can all support. Now, the best hope for this was MASNA and MASNA. So much so that I joined the board of directors, and then that exploded and died twice, and now it looks like it's dead. And when this article was published, there were people who were like, let's make this happen. Let's do something. And they reached out to me and you and Andy Ryan and other people. And we kept saying the same thing. This is going to take somebody who is dedicated to make it start because it's hurting cats. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't the person at the time because of personal issues and stuff. And even now, probably it's not going to be me, but I could sure be dragged along if somebody got, a fire under their bonnet and thought, let's make something happen. I would be happy to help with such a thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to spearhead it though, at least not this year. Anything on that, Ben?
No, you actually said the phrase that was ringing in my head from this was, and I was thinking this early on when you started talking about it, is hurting cats. And the reef aquarium industry is in a dangerous, precarious place right now because of MASNA and MACNA dying. and it's like herding cats, like, because you have all these countries and whatnot, saying whether we can collect there or not, and we have no unified voice. We're in trouble. We're in a bad spot.
Yeah. And there's some excited people who might get some stuff done around now. So I'm excited that it could happen. But it really needs to have happened, 20 years ago.
When, like, you and I've talked about with the reptile industry, I don't remember what they're called, but they have a, what is it, US Arc or something?
Yep.
That they have some sort of unified voice, and we don't, and bad things could happen.
Yeah, and they get their money from their industry and from people joining and from people giving them money because they understand that they need people actively paying attention to this, and you can't do it for free. We don't have that.
And apparently they run it well, because that's what happens in organizations like that. Eventually people are like, what are you using our money for? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And then they
and they're
die,
like,
but obviously they're organized about it.
yeah, they do a good job. We should we
Take
should
notes.
mimic them.
Yeah.
We should contact them and learn from them. They're there to help.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference between a profit and a nonprofit, right? The nonprofit is not a business like other businesses. They're there to help. That's their job. That's why they get paid. So they'd be a good place to reach out for any small group that is interested.
Maybe US Arc can come run Houston's energy substructure.
Totally. Totally. Difficult message number 3. We are in this together. Let's stop slitting each other's throats. Don't be personal. Every schoolyard bully learns the easiest way to raise their own status is to lower the status of someone else. Hopefully, as adults, we figure out that this is also the least effective way to actually raise one's status, because it's a raising based on nothing, resulting in a short-lived status bump, which eventually reflects poorly on the person who made the bump. Instead of bashing others, promote what is good about you or your group. No one really wants to be part of something because it is less bad than something else. We want to be part of things we think are good. There's plenty of room for everyone, so support each other instead of tearing each other down. A rising tide raises all boats. And by all means, don't go personal. This is me stepping out of this. There's a group that's entirely personal. It's entirely based on personal attacks, but it's so stupid. If you were involved in a contentious reaction, don't fall prey to the temptation to attack someone personally. Not only does it not raise your status, but it cheapens the discourse and removes the possibility about bringing change. And it really hurts people, which is supremely fucking uncool. In the trade, we often see these status games when there is talk about certification programs. Instead of talking about how to make it work, we get a lot of discussion about how such organization sucks, how they suck in the past, and how they'll suck in the future. This generally kills any attempt to bring any kind of sorely needed unity to our landscape.
Well, this feels like politics, or how I perceive politics is just, that not just which one sucks less. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and I'd stop myself because I can't talk about the specific details of what made you write this, but that part's fun and juicy, but not for public.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people tried to get me fired from my job for something that happened that they were wrong about and had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And that was awful.
But it was weird because I know we're a-holes for dancing around a subject, but it was weird because it felt loaded, like they were like they got a nugget of something you did that they found distasteful and they were running with that, and it had nothing to do with the aquarium industry.
Yeah.
It's like they were waiting for you to do something, like they were trying to hit you on it.
Yeah. And
probably for being the asshole that was trying to raise the standards of what we
yes.
do in the hobby. And then
Yes.
so they take something unrelated and try to hammer you for it.
Yes, exactly right. And I don't know what, it's not politics. We all can make the choices to not, throw shade when shade isn't needed. There's some people who enjoy throwing shade, and that's fine. Go for it. Have a good time.
Trolls.
I don't know. It feels like it makes everything a little, it makes us all expect that to be happening. And I think we've got better things to talk about. And, there's a troll going after me now. But I'm not going to talk to them or give them any air. Some other people may, and I appreciate in non-siloing, I have to accept that people are want to go after the trolls, and you know that's fine. I do talk to those people who I respect that do that, because they also know when to stop going after the troll and have an actual conversation.
Yeah.
So that makes me happy. Difficult message number 4: we need to pitch in and stop asking hobbyists to fix it.
Oh, yeah.
Some in the trade of industry have made a habit of asking hobbyists to contribute with campaigns for trade and industry issues, but this seems like the wrong way to deal with problems. Sure, hobbyists can help, but when they don't have skin in the game, it really isn't their fight. The idea that the hobby might be shut down is so often used as a rallying cry to raise money for a project. But hobbyists aren't responsible for the way in which animals are collected and imported. Hobbyists are customers, and if the hobby goes away, most hobbyists will just move on to another hobby, where people in the trade and industry will go out of business and have to find a whole new freaking livelihood. It seems like the people in the trade and industry have the real incentive to address the problems that impact their bottom line instead of hobbyists. What do you think, Ben? Am I off there?
No, this is the one that reminds me of the recycling thing, where, you know, that the companies that made plastic, it came out later that they were the ones that were funding the recycle movement.
The bullshit part of the recycle movement.
Yeah.
They intentionally made it
To
make
sort
no
of
sense.
throw like a guilt trip on the end user, like recycle this bottle, you know, and it's like, and then we find out that it's not even really getting recycled for the most part. And it's just, you know, making the responsibility on the end user, when it's like, hey, if we're really going to have a big changing event, let's figure out to use something else besides plastic. But that wouldn't be in their best interest, of course, because that's how they make money. But yeah, expecting the end user to foot the bill or even have the bandwidth to what's under. Imagine you just get in the hobby and then the hobby tells you, you got to save us. It's like, who the fuck are you anyways? And it's like, I don't even know what I know about the hobby yet.
It can be even worse than that, Ben, because there's always somebody saying, hey, give money to this.
Yeah.
Right. Remember, there was a big movement to give money to sponsor a reef in the Keys. Right. But that, you know, a lot of people did that and that didn't pan out, you know. So everybody comes up with these there's often these flash in the pan, give money to this to help save the hobby. After a while, people just start ignoring those because it's like, why am I giving money to that? The last 5 I gave money to just disappeared. So,
but then if people could see real changes, real transformation, so the company that would, or not the company, the organization that would accept that monies would need to be very transparent about what those changes, what your money that you sent to them did. And if and if it's just a bottomless pit and you're just like, thanks, then people are gonna not do that anymore.
Yeah, and it's a rotating bottomless pit. There's always a new one that says, hey, we're doing net training, give us money. Hey, we're doing this, give us money. But there's no, how do you know what's there? You never
what did it do?
Difficult message number 5. We need a mechanism for calling out the bad players. One of the major problems with the lack of a governing body in the trade and industry, not the hobby, in the trade and industry, is that there isn't a mechanism for calling out bad players. As a result, people endure terrible experiences, even when those in the know have already learned a person or organization is problematic. Vendors not on the up and up still get customers. People who have been sent to jail for illegally wildlife trafficking are still in the industry, right? I don't know if that's bad or good, right? People can definitely, you know, learn from their mistakes, but still at some point we got to squint and go, wow, you know, what's actually happening? People found guilty of import violation. It's like if I just read this, it would say it. People found guilty of import violations continue importing with no way for the average consumer to tell if they have improved or changed their ways at all. Of course, calling out the bad players can also be prone to abuse, so we need to make sure that any calling out is justified. In the hobby, local clubs generally know if a local store should be avoided. For example, there's a store near me that the regional clubs know to stay away from because they do the bag lot sales still. They're turning and burning, but there's no mechanism for disseminating that information out to the wider reef community. A widely accepted best practice policy across the hobby, trade, and industry would help make sure that animals are given the best possible treatment, give us a place to point to with questions, and give us a useful ways to approach anti-trade claims. Most hobbyists are not in local clubs and tend to buy based on price and ease. The bad store I was talking about is doing a booming business and has been for decades. Even when other reputable shops closed that were local and nearby that one shop due to economic pressure.
Mhm.
Lots of sales and lots of resales add up. Even if the store is burning out hobbyists, there are always new buyers that don't know better. We should find a way to help them know better.
Man, that's funny because uh, that's something that's near and dear to me. I've always seen that, the crappy store, and then this, because so once you've reached a certain level, I don't want to call it advanced, whatever you want to call it, just more involved hobbyists, and they become a member of a club, and they're like, "Hey, let's shun this one store because it's a terrible store." It's gonna have next to no impact on that store. It's almost completely inconsequential
Yeah.
because we don't we maybe we get filled with self-importance, but we don't forget we're small in number. So that big old store that runs bag lots, so they're just constantly having people pour in and support them. And because 30 people shun them, don't mean shit.
Yeah. And there were people who wouldn't buy livestock there, but would go and buy dry goods there because the dry goods were cheaper there. And
Yeah.
it's like, how do you
What you're
expect?
supporting.
Yeah. But at the same time, how do you expect someone not to do that?
Yeah.
So it's all kind of fucked up.
Yeah, but really you bend your morals because you get $5 off on the
Are you
salt?
going to pay
Really?
50% more for salt from
Is it
because
that much more
yeah,
though?
yeah,
Well, then I question the store, like, are you even making money?
not on the salt.
That's cheesy.
It's a loss leader. It's a way to get
But that's
people into the
okay, so then
store.
that's funny if you're only going to the store for that loss leader, because that's not really helping that store. Because just like any sort of loss leader, yeah, we're basically giving you the salt, but you're probably gonna buy this that we overmarked and that we overmarked.
Right. That's
But
what
if
they're
you're
hoping.
not,
That's what they're
you're
hoping.
not helping them, you know?
Yeah, and if you but if you go in there, you know, are you really just buying the salt? Are you buying other things?
Yeah, that's what you
That's
tell yourself, and it's like, damn it, I want that Royal Grandma
right.
for
And it's
$80.
right, right. $40, right?
Yeah.
I want that Nautilus, that chambered Nautilus is
Oh god.
fucking $10, you know.
Yeah.
Difficult message 6. Let's stop giving the anti-aquarium people ammo. When some vendor does something dumb like throwing away hundreds of dead yellow tangs at
I
once
remember
that
that.
get pulled out of the trash and put in the local newspaper, it looks bad, even if there are really totally understandable reasons for the losses and why they were keeping those animals in the freezer. People who want to shut down the hobby, trade, and industry use this ammo to paint the hobby, trade, and industry in a bad light. I'm not saying we should be secretive about losses. Rather, we need to promote better processes and practices so that the loss of animals is minimized, so we can point to the great successes we are having, not trying to hide the skeletons in the closet. We need to be honest about the losses in the chain of custody so we can learn from those mistakes and eliminate the skeletons in the hobby, trade, and industry closet. That one's pretty short.
There's a thing that happened. I'll make it quick, but there's a thing that happened in Houston like 10 years ago. There's a store that used to compete with a store that I worked at. I think every big city has one of these, like not maybe so much anymore, but on the news there's some like investigative journalist that runs around and talks about stuff in the city. For Houston, it was this guy Marvin Zindler. He used to wear crazy clothes and all this
Oh,
stuff. And
yeah, yeah.
Marvin Zindler, investigative. But anyway, so one of his cohorts or understudies was in that pet store. Well, they had a little pet bird that didn't do well, and it was a store employee. I don't know what was going on here, but they were told to like euthanize it. Well, they didn't really euthanize it and just threw it in a trash can, and it was a barely alive bird,
Ugh.
a trash can. And one of Marvin Zindler's cohorts just happened to be buying like dog food and saw that, and guess where it got splashed all over the main news of the fourth largest city in the United States. The pet store is still around, but man, they had to go in hiding for a little bit.
Difficult message number 7. The industry, trade, and hobby is bigger than your business or your tank. Almost everyone involved in reef aquariums say they love the world's reefs. Those reefs are in real danger, and since we profit from them, either in the hobby joy or in income, We should all be giving back and supporting projects that make the ocean or take from the ocean more sustainable.
Yeah.
Currently, I see some individual groups trying to fundraise, and the responses tend to be rather anemic. I believe this is because the fundraising goal of the project is often vague. I saw one that said something like, "We're trying to raise money to help the Hawaiian aquarium trade. Trust us, the money will go where it's needed."
Oh,
No.
the best phrase when someone's asking you for money is "trust me." Nah,
Yeah, dude. No. This is the kind of stuff that people killed the Marine Aquarium Council over, that the Marine Aquarium Council wasn't doing, but people outside the Marine Aquarium Council were doing. Working together is power, where working alone is frustrating. We need to come together, right? If we come together collectively, identify specific projects with simple but concrete attainable goals, measurable success markers, then fundraise, we can fund the crap out of any project, right? As the goals are met and the success markers are reached, we can not only promote our successful efforts, but we can give back to the ocean that we all somehow say we love. I'm going to say that since the time of this writing, I've come to believe that most people in the hobby don't care about the ocean. The hobby has shifted gears, and the bulk of people in the hobby are not in it for the ocean at all. They're in it for tanks in their homes, which makes sense given what we've done to the hobby. But
also
there's still a core group of people who know and know where animals come from, especially the trade. The trade knows this, and they should be championing this.
I do think there's a difference between not caring and being faced with a problem so insurmountable you just feel helpless, and so it looks like you don't care.
Right.
Right.
And like I say, it's a lot of work to organize, right?
Because how could anybody say, "I don't care about the ocean"? I mean, that'd be a real friggin' asshole.
That would be. Some of them just don't believe the problems are actually true.
That's true.
But I think most of them, it doesn't even cross their mind, as much as like, if I were collecting, pretty rocks, how deep do I need to go into rock collecting to know that some of these rocks come from, slaves?
Yeah. Or sensitive environments or something.
Yeah. It's very hard for hobbyists to know what's actually going on, right?
Or like the blood diamond thing. You're like, I don't know. I was just trying to buy a diamond. Now you tell me like it's a blood diamond and now I'm responsible for this or that.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty bad. I never understood diamonds though. Here's a freaking rock that's cost you $10,000.
Well, and then with the De Beers, whatever, the company like sort of controls the market. So it's like artificial. It is a rare mineral, but it's sort of artificially held.
Yeah. So, difficult message 8. We don't need to emulate Sisyphus. Push smarter, not harder. Having been involved in the hobby in the industry in some fashion since 1975, I've seen a lot of things come and go only to come back again. Sadly, it feels like the bad ideas are the ones that keep coming back. As a community, we often have the same discussions over and over again, but barely move the conversation forward. People get tired of pushing boulders and stop participating in those discussions. Let's look for the first installment of Skeptical Reef Keeping in 2010 dealt with ick. Yet people are still talking about garlic and ginger as miracle products with no evidence to support their claims, even though it's been really taken care of. It's just a waste of everybody's time, and we don't have time for it. We need to be getting better, not treading water. We need to stop reinventing the wheel. Instead, to mix metaphors, stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before us and push that boulder over the edge of the hill with well-documented best practices that we can all build on and make fish and coral keeping easier and better.
Yeah, but I always talk about the turnover rate in the hobby, and that's why Sisyphus has to keep pushing that boulder, because there's just always constantly people coming in going, how do I attack this problem? But yeah, you're right. There's just too many. There's then 50,000 voices go, put ginger in it, put garlic in it,
Yeah.
put this, do that. Although go away after 3 days.
And again, we're back to where do you go for information?
Yeah.
2 idiots on a Reef Beef podcast. That turns out to be a great place.
Yes.
But, where do you go? You go online to a forum. The advanced aquarist is gone. The content is kind of gone, so you can't just browse it, right?
But that's what I get freaked about, like Magna and all this other stuff, like the stuff that wasn't necessarily for profit. Of course, things need to make some sort of profit to be around, but that aren't necessarily for profit. They were geared more towards educating you. And now when that void happens, the void gets filled in by marketing campaigns for companies. Oh, they'll have your answer for you, and your problem that you're having with your cream can be solved in this bottle that's on the shelf. And I just don't buy that.
That we're selling you.
Difficult question number 9. How many more
There's
difficult questions are there?
57.
Yeah, wow.
There's 2 more. There's 2 more.
Yeah.
Stop giving airtime to things presented without evidence, right? We get
Oh,
caught up in
boy.
the idea about why showing something doesn't work is fun, but it's really annoying. We like these does it really work kind of puzzle, but the truth is that it isn't up to us to show that something doesn't work. It's up to the person making the claim to show that the claim does work. Employ what's known as Hitchens' razor. That which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. You'll often see me nowadays just like going, oh, I'm not going to engage in that discussion because you're talking crazy and you've made no argument. You've just made a claim with nothing to back it up. It's a mind story. There's no reason to talk about it.
The only thing good with that, you taught me this. The only thing good with that is for the observers of the conversation might glean something out of it, but that you would make any headway with the person you're discussing with is not a thing if they're talking crazy.
And you end up giving that claim and that person credibility.
Validity,
because the way, did I write about this? Yeah, it's I forgot what I was going to say. Do you know what I was
just
talking
about? You give the claim validity.
Yeah, oh, right. When it's the same thing like the Goebbels thing. Repeat a lie often enough, people believe it. But it's not even that. If you just mention some crazy concept enough, if it gets mentioned everywhere, people's brains go, and then that concept comes up again, people go, oh yeah, I did hear something about that. So I should. And so that's why not even giving crazy claims airtime is good, because it goes into the back of people's brains and they just assume that they heard it and it's credible.
I'm just laughing because you reach back to Joseph Goebbels in Nazi Germany to do that. And I was thinking like, oh, you can go a lot closer to modern times to find that crap still going on.
Yeah, I'm intentionally going back further because as of now, most people seem to still think the Nazis were bad. So that's hopeful.
Let's stay there.
That's hopeful. If the person interested in doing the work to support their claim, then there's a real opportunity for one or the other of you to learn something. If they're not interested in doing the work to support their claim, they're not interested in a genuine discussion, spend your time helping someone who is. You'll be happier, they'll be happier, and the hobby will be better.
Yeah.
Okay, number 10. No, I'm not dying. Even though I'm not dying, but feel free to spread the rumor that I might. I'm glad I wrote this. I have no doubt that there are people who will disagree, perhaps vehemently, with one or more of these messages, and that's fine. I love this hobby trading industry. They've all given me so much joy, personally and professionally. I want them all to continue to grow and thrive and do good in the world. And if any one of these difficult messages helps people to do so, then it will have been worth the 2 years of mulling and hair pulling that I've been doing to risk sharing these ideas now. And to all the people who are doing the tireless work in these areas, but weren't mentioned in this article, thank you all. If people ask you to support your claims about the work you are doing, please don't get mad at them. Help them help you by giving them the info they need about your claim. I hope this article can help put wind into your sails, and thank you for your future efforts.
On that one, I can't quit thinking about one of the funniest things you ever told me, that at one point you did a specific diet to lose some weight, but you didn't really, everyone you bump into, oh, blah, and you didn't want to have the small talk about it. So you were going to start telling people that you had bone marrow cancer or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're losing weight. What's it? He's like, oh, I'm dying. I got leukemia.
Yeah. I never got so specific. I was saying I've got health problems.
I'm dying.
The other one I used was we're in a cult and the master says I can't talk about that. Just stop asking the questions.
Yes.
So anyway, that's my love letter to the hobby. It got some people to get all excited, and then I was on Mark Levinson's stream, and Mark got all excited, and one of the Jonathans got all excited, and they just started hitting their head up, realizing that there was no help. and that they were going to have to do it. They kept trying to lean on me and Andy and I think Tom Bowling, and we kept saying, we're all busy. You get the ball rolling, and we'll help. And people kept coming back to us and going, well, why don't you get the ball rolling? And it's like, yeah, we don't have time for that. So maybe it will get somebody else excited. Maybe something will happen. The idea of saying it over and over again is good. What Salem is saying is good. You know, people don't know, you know, we have to write the same articles every 10 years because who reads 10-year-old articles?
Hey, and speaking of not siloing, shouldn't we, in the show notes, we'll link to what Salem was saying?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So there you go. That's what I got. We'd like to thank Beefers for sponsoring us. We'd like to thank all of you listeners for listening. And if you want to be a member, go join the Discord or, you know, buy us a coffee or become a member. That's always wonderful and helpful. And we are sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com and Champion Lighting and Supply.
And powered by PolypLab.
Powered by PolypLab. And remember, a man drives a plane into the Chrysler building. Schoolsy bombsy bombs. This is Reef Beef. Enjoy the day.
The recording is in progress. It is progressing. Progressing as in moving forward, like almost an evolution, really. An evolution of Reef Beef. Progression. And never taking a step back. But constantly moving forward in a ghost-like world that Richard lives in. Because he's, from my vantage point, Richard is he's living in a fictitious world, and there's items around him that are not even in this world. It's like an ethereal, he's in the ethereal plane, and even the thing that he just drank out of disappeared for a little while. So I'm calling bullshit on whatever world Richard is living in.
I probably should have said for the rest of you, this is Reef Beef.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
now.
And now we're starting a show. Snowman's gonna fucking kill us.
Yes. Lashes. 20 lashes each. They'd probably get mad if we said anus too. That would mess up their,
you know, who?
Like, I don't know, because it's just a body part. It's like saying my finger. And
No,
then you
who-
just say anus, and all EcoFlow is like, we can't say anus.